only Laser Tag Arena invites everyone to an unforgettable experience where the entire family can enjoy alcohol-free, fun-filled time. Let Strike Zone House of Fun host your next birthday party, corporate event, fundraiser, church, school, and social events. We are located in Cannon Place, North Sound Road, units 224 to 227. Join our global membership program, create your own game ID, and earn bonus points as we get ready for league and challenges. For more information, visit our website, StrikeZoneLaserTag.com.
Are you looking for real talk on love, marriage, parenting, and relationships? Join us every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. for Family Matters, a brand new show on Praise 87.9 FM. Hosted by Dwayne Uter, alongside Dr. Cheyenne O'Connor, a licensed clinical psychologist and relationship expert. We'll tackle the real issues that families face. Straight talk, expert advice, and live call-ins. Got questions? We've got answers. Tune in and let's build stronger families together. Family Matters, this and every Thursday on Praise 87.9 FM.
(8:01 in the morning) is Right Start on a Thursday morning, starting your day with a smile. We have Dr. Cheyenne O'Connor in this morning, and we also have Mrs. Sophia Hamilton. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning, Dwayne. Morning, everybody out there. It's a wet Thursday morning, I think.
Is it? Yeah. The rain
Nice
started.
and cool.
Nice and cool, yes. Well, it's always cool in this office. That's why I wear jacket.
Yeah.
This week we're talking about money.
Yeah, it's an interesting week to talk about money matters.
Money matters in family matters.
In family matters. Yeah, I don't know why we choose this week. Maybe because of the interesting trade war that is going on.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. It's quite fascinating in when you examine it. And I don't know. I haven't heard much about it on the from our government officials. I think maybe they are all busy trying to get their election word out. But interestingly, I was just having that discussion with somebody yesterday that here in Cayman, we import almost everything that we use here. And therefore, we will definitely be affected significantly, I think, by whatever is happening in terms of the tariffs that have been levied on so many of the countries. Because we import from left, right, and center.
Yes.
And so, of course, we're going to expect some of those impacts to be on the prices of goods that we import. And, I don't remember hearing much discussion, public discussion on the matter and how it will affect the Cayman Islands. I know a number of countries have been addressing leaders have been addressing their population as to what to expect and what to prepare for. But I haven't heard anything here in the Cayman Islands.
I could tell you why.
Yeah.
So Cayman is if you realize it's a Christian nation.
Yeah.
So it's founded. Listen to the motto, right?
Yeah.
So it's founded on the seas, right? So at this time we stand still.
And watch the salvation. But having said that, I think it is quite apropos that we shift our attention this week. It was not really planned accordingly, but I think it fits quite within the global discussion as to let's look at the finances in the family and how does financial issues affect the family?
Because it does.
Oh man, it does really. I was just looking at a piece of research. Anywhere between 20 to 40% of divorces around the world, right, are affected one way or another by financial matters. In other words, financial matters contribute to almost 20 to 40% of divorces. And any one of us who is married can confirm, right, that if you have too much money, there's still arguments financing, Sophia. And if you don't have much money, you still have arguments in the finance. It is one of those areas that really produce a lot of conflict in marital relationships and in family in at large. And so it is an area that needs a lot of attention and a lot of discussion, and we hope we can probably shed some light on it this morning as we proceed. You know, there's a saying in the Bible that the love of money is the root of all evil. I think it's reasonable to say that poor money management is the root of much evil in the family. Yes. All right, yeah. It is really a source of conflict.
I think that the enemy would have ensured that everything is calculated, right? So if you look at how important money is, and in some areas, in some societies or some category of persons, how sparingly they have to live.
Yeah.
Right on the edge, from paycheck to paycheck. It now creates a greater level of importance.
Yeah, to be able to manage that.
To have money.
But here's where the conflict or where the problem lies. Yeah. When you think about dating while you were dating, money management is not a subject that tends to come up when we are in love dating. Right? That's, people think about, we may think about, okay, are we going to have children, or our profession and all that kind of stuff. But can you manage money? It's not a question we ask the person that we're dating. We ask, do you love me? We talk about all these issues. But the idea of money management is not one of those subjects that pop up in a dating relationship. Two people over by Cayman Bay eating ice cream, they ain't talking about whether you can manage money or not. You're talking about, can you accept me the way I am? Do you love me, or what are your preferences? So that's one area that many relationships move from dating into marriage without no discussion on the matter of the financial management. What are your skills in financial management? Until when they go into marriage and begin to have problems, they realize, oh, this one is a spender, or this one is a hoarder, or this one is a saver, or this one have no skills at all. And that's when it is too late. This one has no money. Has no money, yes. Some people go into marriage not even knowing what the other person has. Yes. And this is nuts, really. You don't want to do that, right?
So I'm going to ask a couple of questions later on, like what she just said.
Yes.
Should you get married to a person who has no money?
Yeah, well, we'll
later on I'm going to ask.
Yeah, we'll come to that. But those are some of the questions we need to ask. So that's point one, the idea of this subject matter not coming up in dating, and it ought to come up in dating, right? What are your financial resources, right? Not just what you have, but one, how did you get it? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is important. That is important.
That's very important. Yes. Okay. And the other piece is to get a knowledge of the person's spending ability and their management skills. So while you are dating, these are some of the things you look for. How does this person spend money? Are they lavishly spend? Are they recklessly spend? Or are they a saver? Are they responsible in their spending? These are some of the things. You're dating and people are borrowing money from you while you're dating because they can't manage what they have. We're going to talk about that later, but those are some serious signs that you want to look into. And the other piece as we open this subject is that the area of money management, right? Not many people have any kind of training in that area. Just think about us. We don't have. There are a couple of things that affect family life for which we have not gotten any training on. Mm-hmm. One of them is parenting, for example. Yes. There's no train. This is crazy,
Things that learned.
Listen,
it's not taught.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Most of us will be parents. Most most of us will be parent one way or the other. But we have never been taught parenting skills in school. You learn on the job. And some people don't do a good job while others do a very good job, right? If you have good parents and you have something to pattern, fine. But we have just, if you think about it, we have been into primary school, all-age school, high school, university, but we haven't done any parenting class in any of these universities or colleges that we have been to. Yet, we will be doing some parenting. So that's just one area. Another area that we jump into family without any skill is money management. Because again, unless you take accounts or you take some financial subject in college, the average person on the road who has no accounting training in high school, we're thrown out there to just manage what you have and swim. And some people do a very good job of it, maybe because of the parents that they had. Yes. And there are others who are completely disaster when it comes to management of money. So entering into a relationship, it is going to be necessary that you find out what is the skill set that this person has, whether it's a woman or a man, as it relates to the management of finance or money in the marriage, because it is going to be a source of contention.
So I didn't have like accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at the bank, but when I got married, my wife was already an accountant for years, and still is for many years. Do you think I would ever say I am the man of the house?
But it depends on what does that mean.
Well, listen to me, right?
Yeah.
Let me just explain.
Yes.
I don't. We together don't bring in enough money quite anywhere close to the money that she manages at work. Why I think I should use ego to manage the money at home?
Okay, and that's a good question. There are some of us who have natural skills, ability to manage resources.
Yeah.
Others do not have such skills. So when you are in a relationship, when you are married, it is important to find out who has that skill set, right? And this is not a matter of who is in charge or who is not in charge, right? If you are the man of the house, then it is your responsibility to see where the skill set lies under your domain, right? And apply them wisely. Yes, and you're not threatened by it. So if your wife has a better skill set when it comes to financial management, it should be to your blessing that God has given you a wife with that level of skill set. Or you can sit with her and she can do the management.
Because I will give away everything?
Yeah, because you will.
I can tell you.
I know that for sure.
I'll give away everything. And it doesn't make you less of a man.
No, it makes you more of a man.
You understand?
Yeah, it makes you more of a man when and by the way, it's the same thing as it relates to your children. There are some of your children have very special skill sets, right? And it's good to assign them responsibility based on their skill set. And what you're doing, you are validating those.
Yes, and
strengthening those.
Yes.
So nobody should say, well, I am the man of the house, I need to manage the money. Because when we come a little later, we're going to come down a little later to things like disparity in income, right? In other words, our wife may be bringing in much more money than the husband does. Is the husband still the man of the house if his paycheck is half that of the wife? So you can see how much tension can come out of this subject matter when we come a little later on the subject.
A lot of times we fail.
Could you come a little closer to the microphone? Yes. Or bring the mic a little closer.
Okay. A lot of times we fail to discuss money because we fear that it's going to spark too much conflict. It's going to be something that, because it has so much power and control tied to it, we tend to shy away from it. Also, some persons don't know how to think about the other person, to have that sense of knowing, realizing, being aware of the fact that not just because you might be the man of the house means that you have to be the one to dispense the funds, you know, and to be the one to make decision on how the money is spent only. So it's about sharing the responsibility and having that sense of equity that goes with the finance because of the power and the control that it can wield. So I just want us to be mindful of that as we go into our discussion, and that is where the conflicts arise.
She sound.
And it goes the other way as well. All right. So just in case it's the woman who makes the more money, doesn't give her the right to decide on how the money is spent. It should be a collaborative effort.
Yes, it's true. It's true, and I think it's always important that it comes down to a joint decision.
Yeah.
It's always very important that it comes down.
A joint is a mutual understanding.
A joint decision, a mutual understanding.
So let's begin at the beginning then, right? For those of you dating, one of the things that you may want to take note of, and I hinted at it in the opening statements. If you are dating, apart from ensuring that the person loves you and you love the person, all right? One of the areas you want to examine is the financial background of this person. So, does the person have any pre-existing debt? Okay, so if you're dating someone and you are moved past that initial stage of dating and we're going into marriage, you want to know if this person has any pre-existing debt coming into the relationship with. Whether these be student loan, whether these be car loan, whether these be mortgage, whether
Or if the person was married before, then
yes,
there's a certain amount of financial obligation that goes with that.
precisely. Very good point. If the person,
Children.
yes, if the
Yes.
person was married before, what kind of obligation based on the divorce settlement that you have to give to the other spouse while you're still married here, or to the children that exist? What are the financial obligations? Never say I do until you know what you're saying I do to. You cannot say I do and then when you go over into the marriage you realize, OMG, okay?
Because it now becomes your debt.
It becomes your
Yes.
now it becomes your debt, yes. And people say, well, I didn't know. Well, and the person says, well, you didn't ask. Right? And I'm saying that, by the way, that's not fair. And I want to say, I want to balance it here. Not only should you not say I do until you know, but I'm also saying the person who is in debt, it is reasonable.
You should not say I do until you say.
You should be able to volunteer that information to say, hey, I just want to let you know that I do have some obligations that will affect us when we get married, right?
Yes.
I have children here, I have to pay their school fee, or I have obligations here, obligations there, or whatever. Whatever the debts that you have, you're supposed to declare it. In the same way you declare, I don't have any other girlfriend, or I don't have any boyfriend, right? In the same way you declare that your hands, so too you have to declare. There's something we call financial fidelity or infidelity on the opposite side. It's the same way you really need to declare what it is that you're obligated to, so the person knows, right?
So, for example, you may be helping your family.
Right.
You know, maybe an aging mother or a sick father, and you have developed an obligation to their medical bill or something like that. That is also important. Any kind of financial obligation, whatever the source, needs to be declared.
That's number one. Number 2, declaration we're talking about, right? Declaration. And I'm not saying, somebody may ask, at what time do you do it? You declare this when we reach a stage where we decide we're going to marry.
Yes.
You don't declare this when you just meet the girl or just meet the guy. No, you don't want to share your stuff when you're just starting. But number 2, it is important to declare your financial status. Okay, meaning what it is that you're bringing to the table financially. We are going to be married. Well, I have $6 in my account, and how much do you have? Right? You cannot marry somebody and you don't know how much money they have, and they're not telling you.
Yeah.
Whoa, no, that's a big red flag, right? Yeah, I have a little money, but I'm not comfortable saying. You just have to trust me. All right? Yeah, I'm sorry, that does not work, right? And should not work. Once we are going to be married, we ought to be financially married. And there are a number of couples who are literally married, physically married, legally married, but they are not financially married. They are financially divorced. They operate completely two different financial arrangements. And it normally breeds a lot of mistrust, contention. I don't know what you do with your money. Every day you don't have money. Wife lending to husband borrowing from wife, and we have almost two different financial systems running. So it's a landmine for explosion in the relationship. So really, you want to be able to say, this is what I have. These are where my accounts are. This is what is in each account. These are the people whose names are on the account. All right, good. And the other person shares what they have, and we decide, okay, when we get married, this is what we will do. Do we merge these two accounts? Whose name is going to be on the account? That kind of arrangement needs to be had, all right, before we go into the marriage.
And what are some of the options that we have? Do we always have to merge the accounts?
Okay, so what are the options? Maybe that's a good question. It is what you don't have to, but it is recommended. It is highly recommended. For example, I've seen, especially when it comes to second marriages, right, and what we call higher order marriages. There are some people who are well set and all this stuff, and so when they're going into a marriage situation with somebody who has absolutely nothing, they don't necessarily want to merge what they have, and so they'll do a prenuptial agreement to say, okay, let's have an agreement that that what you come and see me with belongs to me, and what we build together and accumulate together will be ours. So that some people have that kind of prenuptial arrangement. If you're comfortable with that, fine. But the ideal situation, right? The ideal situation is one in which we put our resources together. We are putting our life together. We're eating out of the same pot. We're sleeping in the same bed. We are sharing our lives together. And so it is the ideal situation is to sharing our finance together, is to merge, because it builds trust. It says that we are together. We are one. Mm-hmm. We are one family. And so a lot of people have a number of resentment and distrust, and they don't feel fully in the marriage because they feel like they're on the outside because there's this separation that is there. So those are so that's the recommendation. If it can be merged, that would be the ideal thing to merge. Outside of that, then individuals can come to some agreement. If you agree to a prenuptial arrangement, okay, that's fine. If you agree to it. It works well in some jurisdiction, and for some people, for other people, it really does not work at all.
And what I've seen, which works quite well also, is where persons declare what they have.
Yes.
So it's not hidden. You know what the person's value is. But instead of merging everything together, they will have individual accounts, and then they have a joint account, and they agree how much they will put in there and how that money will be spent. So whatever is in my account, I have autonomy over that portion. But whatever is in the joint account, we share decision making. We decide how it is to be used.
And then that's another semi-merger, right?
Yes.
Yes. And some people employ that strategy, especially when one party is not too skilled in the management of money,
Yes.
or when one party is a spender and tend to be reckless in their spending. So they take that measure as a preventative measure to say, well, boy, my husband is a spender, and if I let him loose in the account, we have nothing left.
Or he's a giver.
Or a giver, precisely. Because you have some.
Could it also be trust?
Yeah, sometimes it's a trust situation. There are some people who are excessively kind, right? And people know that they're kind. Family members know that they're kind, and they'll come to them borrowing, and these people will give out every single thing out of the family. So the other responsible member of the party will have to take precautionary measures and says, you know what,
Somebody has to have a break.
somebody has to put the brakes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
Yes, we have a question from a listener that says, "Good morning. Can prenup be done after a marriage?"
Oh no.
Prenup name.
The very nature of it, right? It's right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is before the nuptial arrangement, right? So,
Yeah.
no, you really don't want it. It's not feasible being done after the marriage. Okay,
Yes.
it's an arrangement we make entering into the marriage. So it's an agreement we have going into the marriage, and so it is not something that we do after the marriage. So no, you really want to. I really don't know how that will work, because oh man, just think about it. If we can do prenup after the marriage, boy, that would be a problem, right? Because then as soon as I marry Sophia, then I said, okay, no, I don't want because Sophia may have decided to marry me based on what we discuss.
Yeah.
Right, so she sees that I have some money, and she says, "Okay, yeah, I'll marry you." But then once we get into the marriage, and I discover certain things, I may change my mind. No, the principle of it is we have this discussion before we enter into marriage. We are transparent. We say, "Okay, I have some resources, but as far as I'm concerned, a person may say I have been through a bad divorce, and I don't want to go through that again. So what I have, I am prepared to keep that, and I'm prepared to work with you and build a life together. Yeah. So whatever we have accumulated since we get married will be matrimonial asset. What I have before, I do not wish that to be part of the matrimonial asset. And if you agree with that, fine. If you don't agree with that, then we say adios."
Is there a legal way to do that?
Yes.
Because it cannot just be word of mouth.
Yes.
Because when it comes down to later on, if the worst should happen,
yes,
God forbid, then the person can say, "But I did tell you."
Yes. There's a legal procedure where you get a lawyer and you draft up something official. Speaking to it, I can tell you, I clearly understand why some people do that, because the truth is, there are folks who have worked hard, and suffered a lot and have built themselves up, and there are others who will definitely marry somebody for the benefit of what they can get. Some people, not everybody is 100% honest. So the world in which we live has taught us, to be careful. The ideal thing, however, prenup don't sit too well with me, because the ideal thing is that you really want to open all your life and all your resources to this person, and we feel connected and we feel together in whatever we do. Whatever dollar I have, I share it with you. That's the ideal situation, and that's what makes a marriage much safer, much more solid. but I do understand why some people have to resort to that. Sometimes because they have had bitter past in people in their lifetime.
And they have had, sometimes it's reference points.
And sometimes it's
that we've
reference
seen
points, yes. And especially when they have lots of money and you don't have anything coming in. And they said, if we marry, then the judge is going to divide what we have 50%. And I said, oh, no, bro, I don't want that to happen. So there, I can understand the reason for it. I wish it never had.
Could the love, could the aspect of the theory, the love of money comes in there?
Yes.
Could that be as a result of the love of money?
Why they do prenup?
Yes.
It depends. I mean, people do prenup for a number of reasons, and people get married for a number of reasons. Yeah, it is sad to say, but there are those. There maybe not. I don't know what the figures are or the stats on it, but people get married for the wrong reasons, and prenup does work in some situation, not in all situation, but it's a little. Yeah.
It's one of those. It's one of those.
It's one of those uncomfortable arrangements. But if it works well for you, because a woman, let's say a man has a lot of money, or sometimes it's the woman who has a lot of money. But a person may say, well, listen, I'm not marrying you for your money. So you can do. I'm ready to sign the prenup because my marrying you is not for what you have. My marrying you is because of who you are. So put that aside. I'm not interested. I'm willing to start from scratch and we build together. So for some people it's okay and it works well. For others, you don't trust me. Right.
And in the world that we're living in, watch a statement too. I'm willing to sign. You keep your money. We'll start from scratch. That can be an argument that says, this is a good guy. I'll trust him.
Yeah, precisely.
But be careful.
Yeah.
We take a quick break and come back. When we come back, remember the numbers to call if you want to share in the conversation is 945-9029. That's 945-9029. Or send a WhatsApp 517-1122.
Okay, so
When your daughters start to face those challenging moments in life and need that extra bit of protection, give them Curves sanitary napkins. Curves are cotton soft, super absorbent, breathable, and have 4-wall protection to keep them feeling dry and fresh throughout the day. Curves sanitary napkins offer all-day comfort and protection when it matters most. Is your marriage in need of renewal? At the Institute for Essential Care, our Marriage Institute offers spiritual care counseling, marriage and premarital counseling, and guidance for couples preparing to start a family. The Institute for Essential Care. Call us today at 1-345-325-7556. Email us at tifecscheduling@gmail.com. Visit us online at www.caymanessentialcare.com. When your daughters start to face those challenging moments in life and need that extra bit of protection, give them Curves sanitary napkins. Curves are cotton soft, super absorbent, breathable, and have 4-wall protection to keep them feeling dry and fresh throughout the day. Curves sanitary napkins offer all-day comfort and protection when it matters most.
Welcome back to Family Matters. And let me just remind our listeners, we still have a couple boxes of Curve sanitary napkins for the girls, for the ladies. And the numbers to call again is 945-9029. Give us a call. We'll give you females. We'll give you a couple boxes of Curves sanitary napkins. Compliments of Lascaux Cayman. The number to call is 945-9029. That's 945-9029. And we're back with the doctor and the clinician. Good morning. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very. So we were talking about, if you're just joining us, we're talking about financial matters and how finance affects the family, and of course we were talking about a number of things. One of them is individuals in the family who lack the ability who lack the financial skills, management skills, budgeting skills, spending skills, and how it can wreak havoc in the relationship. And I did mention that this is one area we don't learn at school, except we take some business courses, and not many people take business courses. So you question, how do we develop that skill? And it's an area that I have thought about and realized that I think family members may need to begin to think about this, especially with their children, to start training their children to develop frugality, training their children to be thrifty, training their children to manage money. Sophie, I know this is very much in your area.
Yes.
What would you suggest that parents can do to begin to train the mind of the young children to be able to respect money and to manage money well?
Okay, so the first thing I would suggest is that they would have to have access to money.
Mm-hmm.
So how do they earn this money? Because you don't want to just give it to them, because then they won't value it. But when they earn it, they have to do maybe some chores to get it, or take on some project, and they earn that money, whether in the from you in the home or externally. I used to watch TV and see people doing lemonade stands and those things,
Mm-hmm.
and they earn and they earn money from that. Luke has been killing me to do a lemonade stand, and they get the money. What do they do with it next?
Right.
Do they just wait for the ice cream truck and just spend everything? No. What we want to do is to model for them how we spend responsibly, teaching them about opportunity cost, because a lot of times their little brains are not yet fully developed. That prefrontal cortex is not yet there for them to understand that when they have that $5, if they spend all $5, they have $0 left. Sometimes they believe that when they spend that $5, they'll just ask mommy or daddy for some more money. And then they get into this loop of thinking that they have unlimited resources to your funds.
Talking about that opportunity cost, as you spoke a while ago, I remember when my daughter was in university, and she would call, Daddy, can I get some funds? And I would ask her, how much do you need? And she tells me, whatever figure she tells me, I'm going to send less. It's a strategy. I took that deliberate strategy. So if she says, I need $500, I'm going to send $400. And she always wonder, why you always send it short? And I did it purposely because I want to train her mind that she will, very unlikely she will ever be in a position where she has enough money to meet all the needs that she has at any one time. So she has to learn. Opportunity cost is the point here. She has to learn how to manage small amount of money, right? What expense she will need to prioritize. And prioritize her expense and decide what I deal with this month and what I put off for next month. That's critical part of the training. So now she does an excellent job in manager finance. Oh yeah, she's the financial manager. But I had to force that training in her so that she understands from day one that it is very unlikely your salary will not be enough to take care of all your bills. Yes. So you have to learn how to manage that. So as you mentioned opportunity cost, my memory came back to that.
Very important lesson.
Yes.
And then they learn to prioritize and see which one is more important, and then work through the list down. And as they will find, they never ever have money for everything. But they will learn that they can compromise, they can negotiate, and then you want to incentivize the process.
Yes.
So you want to commend them on when they make good choices, and maybe give them the opportunity now to earn some more money because you see how well they are doing. And teaching them that it is their responsibility to take care, to manage the resources that they have been blessed with, teaching them about tithing and giving an offering out of it, and just modeling also for them continuously what good money management looks like.
Yep.
I laughed probably about a month ago. So there was a time when I just used to give my kids a certain amount of money every month, right? And that's before they started having bank accounts. So they would have their like set called a stash, right?
Yes.
So one would be a saver and one would be a little more free,
Spender.
right? And so I got counsels from Katie and decided not to do that and decided to give them based on a different pattern, a different earning pattern, right? So I was taking them from school one day and the kid said to me, Dad, I think I want to go back to that allowance per month because things are getting hard.
Reality check.
Yeah, and that's that's excellent training, right?
Yes.
In my case, where I developed money management skill is from high school days.
Yeah.
So I used to board out at high school,
yeah.
right? And my mom would send me money on a monthly basis.
Wow.
Right. So when you get your pocket money for the month, you have to let that stretch for the entire month.
And I want you to stress on entire because
Yes.
it's not month like these days.
Yeah, exactly.
1 month
It's
is a
long time. Precisely.
Yeah.
And and she gives you she would give me a fixed amount, and it is always not enough, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to pinch that, week by week and stretch it out to make sure it lasts the month. That trained your mind,
Yes.
right? That trained your mind into the ability to manage finance. So when now I am working, I have that same attitude to be able to manage my finance so that it stretch. So children who born in the luxurious situation where they get all the money they want, there's no sense of responsibility. And when they become adult, it becomes the same way. And so one of the things that parents can do is to train your child or your children fiscally, yes? Give them a set amount of money for their pocket, even for the month, and see how they manage it, right? If they come knocking back every minute, I need a $5. No. It is part of the training because this is not done in school. So you have to do that at home.
I find that even when you don't have things lavishly, what we as parents tend to do, we make the sacrifices, we make those hard calls to do without, and then we give our children everything so they lack no good thing. And then we fail to let them understand the backside of what they're enjoying, that, hey, this came at a cost.
That's correct.
And so they miss all of that opportunity. So we need to really sit down with our children and help them to recognize that, hey, this is how much the rent costs or the mortgage, and just go through and let them realize that that's what is going to happen to them in a couple of years.
Yeah, there's
these
a
are
cost.
the same, yes, these are the same decisions that they will have to make. And it prepares them mentally, teaches them those financial literacy skills. Also, there are some courses out there that you can enroll your children in. I know over the summer, the credit union had a wonderful program, and the children learn how to budget and stuff like that. And I see more of that coming on stream, so take advantage of these.
Enough persons grew up in a very hard and poor past. Growing up, right? Some persons didn't go to school with textbooks, some didn't have proper bags, some didn't have shoes. And they have what we call in Jamaica passed the worst, and now they're earning some things, and they decide that they wouldn't want their child to come up like how they came up, and so in trying to balance that, they might want to give their child everything at every time, just to ensure that they don't have that.
They overcompensate.
Yes.
Is that dangerous?
That is unhealthy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's unhealthy. Because the same way, the insufficiency that they experience coming up as a parent
Yes.
made them into who they are.
Yes.
Right? Therefore, you need to ensure that you pass some of those skill sets
Yes, yes.
on to your children
Yes.
so that they can also become.
Muscle building.
Yes. Because what you're doing then, you're creating a false concept and a false world for these children. And so when they become adults, they have that same tendency to think that everything should come to them without them working for it.
It's entitlement.
It's an
mentality.
entitlement mentality,
Yes.
which is going to reap havoc in their relationship down the road. So that's a very good point.
And it
you-
translates to other areas of our lives, not just finance.
Yeah.
Because you're going to expect that people must serve you in every area as well.
So here's how it manifests. So here's a man like that, for example, okay? And he marries a woman who is very frugal, very thrifty, and came up on the rough side of the mountain and learned to pinch and learned to, budget and learned to manage. But then he has this sense of entitlement, and he just thinks that money is supposed to be spent. Why we're holding it here? We can't eat money. We're just spending. You can begin to see in that relationship the tensions that are going to come up, because he's what we call the spender, right? He wants a new Nike here. He wants a latest designer jeans. He wants a new iPhone. Every time there's a new iPhone comes out, he wants to change it when there's no need to change your iPhone. You begin to see that there's going to be tension in that relationship, because she's going to want to hold on to the finance that says, no, we have serious responsibility. We have kids school fee to pay. We have mortgage to do that. So those are the reasons. Spending patterns of spouses are one of the main reasons we have tension in the family. People's value system, people's policies, people's guidelines, decision-making process, when they are fundamentally different, you're definitely going to create problem in the relationship. And then the question is, well, I work for my money and I work hard and I should decide how it is spent. No.
We should decide.
No, yes. And can I just tell pieces, because I think that was coming to the
Just
answer,
say it again,
the
Doc.
question.
We should decide.
Yes, it is not I should decide. I work my money hard. No, well, if that be the case, you should be single on your own. When you are married, all right, the money that we both work belongs to the family. It is a family money. So we should decide, not I should decide. We should decide how this money is spent. It calls for mutual decision. So if we disagree on certain things, all right, we put a pause on it until we can agree as to how we deal with this situation. The minute one says, well, I work hard for my money and I don't want nobody to tell me how to spend it, because no. That be the case, then you want to live a independent single life. In the family, there are responsibilities, there are joint expenses, all right, that a mature mind will sit down with the wife or with the husband and look at what are the needs in the family, and we decide how we address those needs, all right, one by one, and we take care of the family needs before we take care of my needs.
In a environment like Cayman, where it can be super busy,
Yes.
hectic, and there's a fast food chain right around the corner, on every corner, like Walgreens.
Yes.
You had your budget for the month. You had your budget for the month, but you have enough disposable cash that if you get caught up, instead of going home and prepare meals, you could stop at the fast food restaurant and buy meals.
And there are healthy options available as well, not just the fast food.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, whatever.
Yeah.
But whatever it is,
Mhm.
whether it's healthy or unhealthy, it doesn't sit in line with your budget for the month.
Mm-hmm.
It's ready, but it doesn't sit in line with the budget for the month.
There's a saying, not because you have it mean you can afford it.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what you're alluding to.
Yeah, yes. And I'm finding that this can eat out your your money easily.
Yes, very, very easy. So I like that idea. Yeah, this can tap into your resources very, very easily. You want, if you make a budget, you want to stick. It doesn't make sense to make a budget and you don't stick to the budget, right? Right? Unless you have ADHD, right?
Yeah.
Right? But
Even then you can get help.
Then you can get help. But there's a reason why you make a budget. You make a budget to guide you, so that you do not spend randomly and overspend. So if you have a budget, you stick to the budget, because it is by sticking to the budget that you accomplish your goal. Right?
Yes.
And so a number of people will make a budget and they put it down. No, you want to stick to the budget. So you don't want to you want to spend on things that you need, right? Not necessarily on the things that you want. And that's something a lot of people do not understand. And some people confuse what they need from what they want. And I think particularly as it relates to children, this is something that needs to be taught in terms of needs versus want.
Yes, absolutely. And it goes back into helping them to understand the things that are really, really necessary, and the things that, can wait. They're secondary. They're
Yes.
not a primary need. Also, as you mentioned, this is food you're talking about. I'm
Right.
stopping to buy food, and food
Right.
is needful. But there's another way, possibly, that is more frugal, that you could get the food
Right.
and maybe mix and match, buy some in a greater quantity, and
Yes.
then mix and match so that you're not bored and think you're eating the same thing over and over.
Right. So I think the point to be made here is to instill in children from early how they distinguish between what is needed and what is wanted, because
And that can be a challenge,
Yes.
especially for some of our children who have some learning disorders. It takes time for them to assimilate what is a need from a want, because some of them, they are wanting something and they're wanting it now, and they think that is a priority. It is something that it has to happen.
Right.
But we gently, over time, educate them on what is a want as opposed to a need. And that helps them to then make better choices later on. Absolutely.
I think that I can see that now. My mind rushes to a couple, right? A married couple who argues over whether an item is a need or whether an item is a need or
Yes.
a want. So let's say, for example, a new cell phone comes in, and the wife considers it as a need, right? And the husband says, no, that's not a need, that's a want. You can see even from children, even from a child,
Right.
coming all the way up, how these struggles or these issues continue to produce argument. And until we get some agreement on what is considered a need for the family. And I think the point I'd like to make here is to make that distinction between what is the need for the family versus my personal need. So I think you mentioned early the idea of having somebody having a separate account. I want to just touch base at that. So one of the recommendations is for people to have joint finances, right? That's the ideal.
Right.
All right? If you have reasons why not, you should not, then we understand that. But it is a better situation when you pool your resources together, when you have the couple or the person with the financial head or the financial skill to manage that. That requires us sitting down and put a budget together. Again, what does that do? That allows wife and husband to spend some time together to work on matters like this, so you
Yes.
feel connected. You put a budget together, and then the financial person is the one who works that. Now, when that is done, you also in that budget want to put aside what you call personal money, pocket
Yes.
money for each spouse, right?
Right.
Each spouse may need some money in their purse or in their wallet, whatever the case may be, to carry them for the week or to carry them for the month. it is from that you spend on your personal need or your personal want. All right.
Right.
And so once that is set established, you can do your own thing. When it becomes necessary to tap back into the family pool, a discussion needs to be had.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Anytime they're spending from that pool, there needs to be
There
some
needs to
discussion,
be a
and
discussion.
decision
Yes,
made.
yeah, definitely. And so that we feel that we are family. One of the last thing you want to do is what I call financial.
And I like the idea of having individual funds allotted so that every time I need a stocking,
You don't
or
have to-
I don't have
yes.
to call my husband and say,
Precisely.
hey, I need a stocking. But I have that latitude, that autonomy that I have for the month, $100 or $50 assigned that I can spend without calling to ask how to
Precisely.
spend it.
Exactly. Is the
And if
point.
I spend it on ice cream, there's no problem because it's my money
Yeah.
that was allotted and I spent it on myself.
Exactly the point. And you see how nicely that works. Right?
Yes.
That's how it's supposed to work, really. So we have a family fund and we have our individual funds that we can work.
Doctor, you did mention when you started about the whole tariff and how it's
Yes.
affecting, right? I get culture shock every time I go to the supermarket. I don't normally go. It's normally the
You
wife
should go
goes.
more often. That's where you get culture shock.
No man, you go this week, and you buy something, and you go next week and you buy less, and you pay more.
Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which means that the prices keep increasing.
Yes.
Keep increasing, and so I would recommend that you do monthly shopping or a longer period, because you probably be able to save some money.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
For those who can.
Listen
yes.
to me. I watch them ring up some stuff in a supermarket. I won't call it. I won't say it's Foster's
Or any other.
or Kirk's. But I watch them ring up, and I literally had to take the paper and go through again. Like
It can't
in
be.
my head, I
Yeah.
was calculating what I was doing, but then it came out to be so much
Yeah.
more. And
And that is why it is so important nowadays to be on top of your finances.
Yes.
Right? And to manage this properly in the relationship. So you do not have a situation where you find yourself can't manage any longer.
Yes.
And some of these skills that we talk about, it is critical. One of the things you don't want to do is what I call financial infidelity. And that is you do your own private spending without letting the other person know, especially expensive spending. Your own private, you take a little piece of the money and you stash it somewhere around the corner. Without the other person knowing. And you do your own little stuff around there. Because usually that's going to create a problem, because the day it becomes known, right, you can see the problem that is there. So transparency, financial transparency is critical in the relationship. That will help to build trust, right? Because a lot of trust is broken down from in this subject area of finance. If people don't trust you with the money, then it is, you can see how easily they cannot trust you with other stuff. So you really want to be open. You really want to be transparent, and have mutual understanding in the relationship. And so somebody asked the question: is it okay for me to have, if my spouse is a spender, or a gambler, or whatever it is, or a drinker, and is it okay for me to hide my money from that person? And the answer is not no. You don't hide it. The idea is not hide it. The idea is to get help for the individual, so that the individual and the person can get help, because you don't want to leave that person in that condition for the rest of your life. Hiding it and stashing it away is not necessarily the best idea. The idea is, okay, we realize you have a problem.
Right.
let us agree that this is the procedure that
Absolutely.
we'll put these things away, but I need you to get help so that you can be the type of person I want you to be.
Or that you once were.
Or that you once were. Very, very important. Dwayne, before we finish, you had a question that you wanted to ask when we just started. I know you remember that.
I don't remember.
While you're thinking about your answer, I remember I spoke to the fact that if I have my $50 and I want to spend it on ice cream, then that's not supposed to be a
Yes.
problem. However, it becomes a problem if after I spend my $50, I want to draw on the family
That
pool.
is correct.
And sometimes that's what happened.
That
We
is
are
correct.
assigned a certain amount, but we keep going back and wanting more and more. So that can be problematic
That
and
is
lead to
correct.
conflict in the marriage.
That is correct. That is correct. We want to pick this up next week. Next week, we want to look into how do we manage people who want to borrow money from us as a family, right? Well, how do we construct a family budget? We want to look at unequal contribution to the family. If I work 2 times the amount you work, then who should decide? They make the decision here. And how does that impact family members? So some of those areas, there are lots of more areas that we want to look at when we come back.
The aspect of lending from family money is very, very serious.
It is. Especially Cayman.
I'm saying it's very serious.
Yeah.
It's very, very serious. I think that in an effort to damage a family, the devil watches your finances and whisper into somebody's ears to come and borrow it
That's a good one.
and not to pay it back.
Yeah, and not to pay it back.
And damage your family.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you're very kind, you're very, very kind, and these persons borrow your money and you lend them because it's a need. And let me just tell people this: don't be unkind. First thing, don't be unkind.
I hear the bot coming.
But you have some people who, when they're broke, they only have the last $50,000. And when you're broke, you don't have. When you are broke, you don't have any money.
Nothing, yes.
But when they're broke,
They
they only have the last $50,000 that they don't want to touch.
Yes.
Because the interest will not, they won't get that month's interest or several months interest.
I'm just
Yes.
telling you.
Yes.
Yes.
Some people's broke is different from
Yes.
Yes.
real broke.
Those are what we call predators.
Predators.
Yeah.
And they will borrow your money
Yeah.
and they'll give you back.
Yeah. So when you come next week, I'll share with you how to go about
It
that.
sounds like I'm speaking.
Yeah,
from-
you're speaking from You're a victim.
It sounds like.
Yes, yeah. I hear the tone of the victim crying out. But yeah, we hope and trust this was helpful to you.
It's a
Yeah,
reality.
yeah. We'll pick this up next week
Yes.
because there's much more to unpack as we
Yes.
look at finance in the family.
I could tell you what is my number one advice to any marriage, any couple. When somebody comes to you about money like that, listen to your wife.
Listen to you. That's a good one.
What
Listen,
if it is the wife making the request on behalf of a family member?
listen to your wife.
Listen to your wife.
When it comes on to listen to your wife, your wife has a thing called,
Intuition.
I call it discernment.
Yeah, same
You
thing.
call it intuition. Listen to your wife, and if she say I'm not.
If you have a wife, so that's
That has brought us to the end of Family Matters for this week. I certainly hope that you learned something. I learned something.
Yes.
I learned. You know this program is helping me.
Amen to that.
It's helping me
Amen to
like
that.
Yeah, we're getting people calling in and telling us the
Yes,
same.
it's helping me a lot, and I'm just becoming a great person, a rather greater person.
I'll sell the bill to Katie.
All right, see you next week. It's Easter next week.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, it's Easter.
Believe it or not.
Yes. Sometimes I think Bolt is born in every month.
Yep.
Every month is just running.
I was just saying that Thursdays are so. I mean, there's like every day on the week is a Thursday.
Thursday.
You know, since I started this show, I mean, Thursdays come around so quickly. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Again, for those who are enjoying these counsels and these I call it free therapy. If you want to get more, you could reach out to
Institute for Essential Care. That's 325-7556.
329-6554.
Or you can get us online at caymanessentialcare.com. That's caymanessentialcare.com. Please check us out. We'll be happy to make our services available to you.
All right. You have a good day.
Are you looking for real talk on love, marriage, parenting, and relationships? Join us every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. for Family Matters, a brand new show on Praise 87.9 FM. Hosted by Dwayne Uter, alongside Dr. Cheyenne O'Connor, a licensed clinical psychologist and relationship expert. We'll tackle the real issues that families face. Straight talk, expert advice, and live call-ins. Got questions? We've got answers. Tune in and let's build stronger families together. Family Matters, this and every Thursday on Praise 87.9 FM.
Hi, welcome to Jesus Wins, a daily devotional by Elizabeth Talbot. This whole month of April, we will be exploring the topic, Believing His Salvation. April 10, His Abandonment. My God, why have you forsaken me? Matthew 27, verse 46. Throughout my life, I was assured of the ever-present help of my parents. I was on a pastoral retreat with other ministers in one of the national parks of the United States. Something went terribly wrong, and I experienced food or water poisoning that turned life-threatening within 2 hours. After the paramedics came to that beautiful and remote hotel, they told me that I had to remain there for a few days to regain my strength. Everyone in my group was leaving, and I would have to stay there alone. Within a few minutes, my parents had packed and were on their way to me and stayed with me until I was strong enough to travel.